Okay, moving on to the last and final segment of today's show. I wanted to talk about Cam Newton, and this guy was in the news this past weekend for a couple reasons. And number one, I'm sure you guys all saw the video of what went on with him and that kid saying, "Cam, you're trash," at his camp. And I just wanted to say, I did think that Cam Newton did handle that situation as best as he possibly could, because in this era, that's how kids want to get recognized. They knew that the only reason why that kid did that was because he wanted to try to get famous on TikTok, and he wanted to try to get famous all over the internet. Unfortunately, that's not the way I think that generation should be raised. But anyway, no big deal. That was what I thought the only reason why that kid was acting like that. I did think Cam Newton handled the situation the best he could, acting like an adult, acting like someone who has been there before. And my other main takeaway from this whole Cam Newton saga is this. Do the kids not think Cam Newton is cool anymore? Look, I understand his game has declined a little bit. He isn't the same guy that was just trucking over defenders all over the place while he was coming up with the Carolina Panthers. But at the same time, you guys do realize that Cam Newton is one of a handful of players in the history of football to win both a Heisman Trophy and an MVP trophy throughout his career. And we saw Cam Newton lead an Auburn team full of nobodies to a national championship. And by nobodies, I don't want to diminish them and say they were bad players. I just meant nobodies in terms of future pros. They didn't really have that many future pros on that Auburn team. So at the same time, when you look at Cam Newton, I think he's going to go down as one of the best running quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Maybe Lamar Jackson catches him, maybe, but I really enjoy watching Cam Newton play football, and that is going to bring me into my next point, and the more important point regarding Cam Newton that I actually wanted to talk about today, and that question is this. Cam Newton was quoted this weekend saying that he knows he is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm curious for your guys' opinion, everyone listening. Is Cam Newton a guy that is worthy of being a starting quarterback in the NFL? Because I'm not going to lie. There were many times where I would watch Cam Newton last year with the New England Patriots playing under a guy like Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. We know just how successful those guys have been throughout the New England Patriots run in their dynasty. I thought that Cam Newton was going to work in New England. I thought that, especially after watching Cam play the first couple games against Seattle and watching Cam Newton light up the Miami Dolphins the first week of the season, I actually thought there was a good chance that Cam and New England would work out. I picked the Patriots to win the AFC East before the season started, but unfortunately, Cam Newton in New England did not work. And I do think that if Cam Newton is a starting quarterback next year, it is not going to be as a member of the New England Patriots. I think it was kind of shown that both sides would be best suited moving on if Bill Belichick really wants to win and catch up with Tom Brady with the ring count. But anyways, I do think there is still a spot for Cam Newton in the league. The question that ultimately is going to have to be answered is this. Cam Newton has been a guy throughout his career, and rightfully so. He's always been in the spotlight. When he is on the field, he is immediately the guy you put your eyes on. He is immediately the guy that gets all of the attention. The thing is, at this point in his career, is Cam Newton going to be willing to head into a training camp and compete for a starting quarterback job? Because I think if one thing was proven on the football field this past season with Cam Newton, it was the fact that at this point in his career, he's not a guy that you could just bring in and automatically assume that he's going to be your team starting quarterback. I think we realized that towards his later years in Carolina, if we're being completely honest, and I think his style of play probably just caught up with him. When you play like that and when you're getting hit that many times, it's natural to understand why Cam Newton isn't as good now as he was 6 or 7 years ago. However, the question is, is Cam Newton, a guy who, let's face facts, he has a lot of options for himself after football. He could work in the media. He could be a broadcaster. You think ESPN wouldn't love to hire Cam Newton as their new Monday Night Football announcer right now? That would get some ratings. I think that would be a pretty nice draw. How about Cam Newton working in fashion? We all know after games in his post-game press conferences how much he enjoys that. So I think Cam Newton is a guy that has plenty of options. Here's the other thing. In the video that I referenced earlier that the kid was taunting him in, I don't understand why he was using the diss. Oh, he's a free agent. He's a free agent. You're a free agent. And when Cam was saying, I've made a lot of money in my career, and the kid was like, you're a free agent, you're a free agent. I mean, look, Allen Robinson's a free agent. I wouldn't necessarily use that as a diss against him. A free agent is probably going to make himself a lot of money. So I don't necessarily understand why that kid was trying to use, oh, I'm a free agent, as some big kind of diss. But anyways, Cam Newton and his future, I think, has a lot to be told. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with the New England Patriots. But in terms of possible landing spots for Cam, where would you guys see him going? I think that Washington and the football team, a place where Ron Rivera, his former head coach in Carolina, keep in mind, those two guys got to a Super Bowl together. Those two guys did some big things in Carolina. I think Cam Newton possibly going to the football team in Washington could possibly be a good move, because that defense, I know for a fact, is ready to win. Antonio Gibson is a baller. Terry McLaurin is a baller. I've been saying this for a while. I think the Washington football team is a quarterback away, and if Cam Newton were to be brought in and compete with Taylor Heinicke for the starting job, I don't necessarily know if that would be the ideal quarterback situation, but I'll say this, it's better than Taylor Heinicke and Alex Smith, and no offense, Alex Smith, we know all of the great things he's done throughout his career, but I don't know if he's a guy that right now the Washington football team could bring in and say, okay, I expect this guy to be healthy for a full 16 games and lead us to a division title and more. I don't know if you're the Washington football team, if you could rely on a guy like Alex Smith to do that, but Cam Newton, maybe him and Ron Rivera, maybe those two reuniting could possibly spark something in Washington. I think another place for Cam would possibly be Chicago. And I know the Bears, if they really wanted Cam Newton, I understand the point. Oh, they would have signed him last year. But I don't know what the Bears' options are now that they didn't get Carson Wentz. If you ask me, Zach, who is the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears going to be week 1 of next season? I really couldn't tell you. Maybe it's Justin Fields, but I think Matt Nagy, even though he hasn't developed a quarterback in his tenure in Chicago, he still is under a lot of pressure to win, and I don't know if drafting another quarterback is ideally what Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy want, considering the fact that both those guys could be on the hot seat very shortly. There are many possible destinations, I think, for a guy like Cam Newton to go to. I understand that last offseason, if you remember, Cam actually did not sign with the team until very late in the offseason. I remember it was during the pandemic, actually, right when that hit, Cam signed with New England. And even though at the time a lot of people did say, okay, who's winning the job? Is it going to be Cam Newton? Is it going to be Jarrett Stidham? Ultimately, I think it was proven very early on that Cam was going to be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots. And I do think that you can make the argument that that situation with Cam Newton in New England, and we saw it with Tom Brady, we know it. The one criticism I'll have of Bill Belichick, as great of a coach as he is, his one weakness is drafting. And I think it's been proven over the last couple years that really caught up with the New England Patriots. Over the last couple years, Tom Brady, the GOAT, couldn't even handle playing with that bad of weapons, and neither could Cam Newton. I thought that maybe playing with a guy like Josh McDaniels, who is a very smart offensive mind, I did think that maybe that would help Cam's cause, but at the same time, that did not happen, and Cam Newton didn't work out in New England, and it's unfortunate, but there are plenty of teams, I think, right now that would take Cam Newton's services. I'll throw another one out there for you. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? We spoke about them earlier. I think you bring in Cam if they're gutsy enough not to bring back Big Ben. How about bringing in Cam Newton, a guy who has proven he could win? And the Steelers do have weapons around the quarterback. They do have Chase Claypool, a good young receiver. They have Deontay Johnson, who wasn't great last year, but hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. They also have a guy in James Washington who I really like, and I think he could be in for a bigger role. Eric Ebron at tight end, a running game with James Conner. Hopefully he'll be back healthy. Hopefully they'll get another running back. I mean, who am I kidding? James Conner, he wasn't very good last year, but hopefully if you're the Steelers, they'll really prioritize fixing their running game. So I think Cam Newton is a guy that could be a fit for there. And maybe Houston? I mean, if they end up trading Deshaun Watson and they don't necessarily like any of the rookie quarterbacks, we'll see. But I do think the key is, and the key question here, Cam Newton has always been a guy who's been a starting quarterback and who's been killing it in the league. Is he willing to go into whatever training camp is willing to accept him this offseason? And is he willing to compete for a starting quarterback job where it's really a 50-50 competition and he has to earn it? Because say what you want about Jarrett Stidham and everything that went down in New England. I like Jarrett Stidham. He's a fine quarterback, but still, I think it was pretty evident to everyone early on that Cam Newton was going to be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots. So we'll see what happens. I mentioned this about the Jets earlier. The AFC East very slowly is turning into one of the best divisions in the NFL. And New England realized, look, even with Cam Newton, we don't think we're going to be able to win without him, to win with him, as it was proven last year. And we're going to have to see what happens, because right now, if you ask me where is Cam Newton going to be playing week 1 of next year, my answer would be Washington, but it's not even 100% known that he would be the starting quarterback in that system to begin with. So of all the storylines this offseason, I'm curious to see where Cam Newton goes, and once we find that information out, I'll be very fascinated to see if he earns a starting job, if he gets the starting job, and will it end up working out, because Cam Newton is a guy who you could say what you want, you can make fun of him, calling him trash. No, that guy is a top-notch football player who has accomplished a lot during his time in the NFL, and he's a guy that could play for my team any day of the week.